everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Digital Embellishment Show. Today, we have a very cool guest, somebody who I've known for a little bit here, John Carlin, who is at Lahlouh. John, how are you, man?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. I always enjoy our talks. We always have good conversations about the print industry. And John, right now you've been in the industry, what, 28
28
years?
years. Yeah. Since 1996. Crazy.
Oh my goodness. There's a whole lot of stuff that I'm sure that you've learned over the years. How did you get into printing, John? I'm kind of curious.
Through a family business, just started out as like a project manager and just got handed the little black book of printing, I guess is what it was called back then, the Pocket Pal, and learned everything from stripping and making plates, all the way up to, I've been a general manager and now my focus is on sales. So, which is a lot more fun than all the stress of every day running a plant. But it's been a long journey, but it's been my life. It's really been my life, and it's something I'm passionate about.
So what's the difference like? Because I know that you were managing a print shop for a long time, and now you're getting back in the field and you're going back to hunting, as it were. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. What is the hunt different than back when you were hunting, or what's changed in the market since the last time you've been around?
Well, it's definitely different because when I first started hunting, it was literally knocking door to door or looking people up in the phone book, and trying to, get somebody to answer the phone. Where now, there's tools, HubSpot, LinkedIn, lots of ways to connect, which can be overwhelming. And that's one thing that since I'm doing that full time now, trying a lot of different tools. Sometimes I feel like I've got my hands in too many baskets, just trying to figure out the best way, but still knocking on doors too, still showing up at places and trying to drop in. So it's just different now with technology. I think it's easier to reach people, but I also think it's easier for people to ignore you if they don't feel that connection. So yeah, but it's fun. It's the part that I've enjoyed. I think like we talked about before, when you just get that response from somebody that's like, hey, yeah, tell me a little bit about this. It's like, yeah, I got them now or whatever. So that's the fun part for me is getting that connection and new connections. That's the exciting part about it. But of course, love my existing accounts and things like that I've had throughout the years. So it's always great to touch base with them when possible.
Yeah, and I think that's just not just the printing industry. Like sales has just changed in general. I think, a lot of people now are creating content in order to get in front of people. A lot of people have had to really kind of change their game up in a lot of different ways. So I think it's kind of interesting. So tell me about Lahlouh, because you guys have a really nice name. It's a big operation, right? How big are you? Are you guys?
Yeah, two plants, a couple of hundred employees, plant in California, plant in Ohio. Just a fantastic company. It's a family-run business. They've been in business over 40 years. Just lots of firepower. It's great when you're a sales rep and you've got that heavy iron behind you, plus digital, all those kind of things. And I know an area that's important to you is embellishments, foils, emboss, all that stuff. It's great to have that. I mean, there's really if you're in printing, there's not a toy they don't have, which is great. So it really helps to go out and sell, which lets me sell the whole gamut, which print is not, as we've talked about, it's not just, a letter in the mail. It's postcards, it's handouts, flyers, it's signage. There's so many areas that print touches as a communication medium. And so it's great to know that anything that I need to offer to a client, I've got that support with both plants behind my back.
Yeah, I mean, you don't often think about it, but the more toys that you have as a company, that's really the more weapons you have in your salesperson's arsenal, right? I mean, you can offer more things. And is it difficult for you, for example, when you go out and you have to sell, let's say tomorrow Lahlouh buys a new piece of equipment that does something really, really new, really different. How difficult is it for salespeople to, I guess, understand how to sell that new capability?
It's harder than you think. And, I have a sales management background as well. So even though I'm on the flip side of that now, I think the hardest part is finding a way to get your prospects or your clients to understand the importance or the value of what it is. So, let's say they added some new, way to add lasers shooting out of paper or something tomorrow. that's cool and it could probably work, but now you've got to talk to people about why they should put lasers, on paper or whatever. So, and I think that's the hardest part for a rep and for just a sales team to how do you, when people think of print, they just think of postcard they get in the mail or somebody's business card. They don't always think about all the things from instruction manuals to, marketing pieces. When you go to look at a new home or apartment, they're giving you material about the community and stuff. So it's hard to get people to understand. I think that's the biggest challenge, how to get people to understand the value of this new service or this new thing. And there's always the early adopters that, are going to jump at it and try it, which those are always great to have. But I think it's getting that message out there about what can be done. And I know with embellishments, we've talked a lot about that, you and I, is how to sell on value as opposed to how to just sell on price or how to sell a commodity. And I think that's where, as a sales rep, you have to differentiate yourself. I look at it like selling programs and selling opportunities to reach and engage as opposed to just getting something in the mail or print. And I think that's the message that a lot of print buyers today don't, not that they don't understand it, they just don't hear it enough, because I don't know that the industry does. I mean, obviously folks like you and other people, and that's part of why I wanted to come on the podcast, is just to showcase that there is a lot out there, and how can we break down those barriers to get people to look at these new and exciting things as opposed to thinking, oh, it's just print and it's another printer calling me. That's the challenge.
Oh, I love what you're saying, because it's true. It's first you have to sell your salespeople, right, on the value that you're bringing, and understanding that, like, if you do this right, you can make a lot of money. It's if you're comped on profit margin and you're comped on those kinds of things, you can really make some good money if you just understood that it's okay to be more expensive than the next guy if you have a better product, right? And I think
Great.
that's hard to educate your salespeople first, and then to be able to take that message and then teach their customers why that value is important. I think is also something that often gets, I guess, lost in the mix.
Yeah, you're right.
So
There's two challenges. One, getting the team to understand it and how to sell it. And then the second challenge is getting somebody to want to listen to it. So
that's right. That's right. So you tell me, what are you seeing out there? I know you're going out there. You're talking to a lot of different companies. Are there any trends that you're seeing? Anything that's kind of popping off, or like grabbing your attention that you weren't expecting?
no, the interesting thing, I've focused a lot on higher education, which, it's funny how many universities and colleges now have a director of enrollment or a, marketing enrollment specialist or stratcom, strategic communications at the university level. And, a lot of that's multifaceted, to where some of it's about, the sports team and getting information about the sports team. But a lot of it is about how to connect to, kids in high school and get them interested to come to their university. That's a lot of dollars coming in when someone, attends a university. So, they spend a lot of money on it, but it's also something where I think a lot of universities and schools are making good use of embellishments, or even with, personalization. But I do feel like most people aren't understanding the power of personalization and embellishments and how much you can do. I mean, people probably don't even realize that, with some of these digital devices, everything can be different, including the embellishment from piece to piece. And so I think that's where more and more, samples, that's the biggest thing I think from a sales rep, having samples to show when you get in front of somebody to say, look at the difference here. Look at this piece versus that piece. And I do think personalization's big, but I just don't think they've utilized it to the way that it can be. Some universities have, but a lot of them, it's still very much, hi, Kevin, come to our university, as opposed to, hey, Kevin, you put that you're interested in music and sciences, so we're going to put pictures of music and science on your brochure, but then the person right next to you is getting pictures about horseback riding and something. So I don't think, and the funny thing is, that's been, I feel like we've been doing one-to-one marketing since the early 2000s, but it just doesn't feel like it's mainstream still, which is crazy, which speaks to the potential that there is for our industry.
100%. I think the data aspect of it, and being able to map data to content in a one-to-one way is definitely something that is being underutilized. You talked about embellishments. So I can say that as somebody who spends a lot of time in this market, the university system for athletic recruitment, for student recruitment, for fundraising has really invested a lot of dollars in like in the embellishment side of things. And what I'm starting to see is like you're trying to recruit an athlete and you try to get them to come to your camps. And I've seen a lot of really cool pieces where it's this beautifully embossed piece, let's say for Notre Dame. You open it up and then you have like the jersey, the Notre Dame jersey with your name embossed in gold on the back. And it's like, hey, you have the Carlin jersey with the Carlin in gold, trying to get people and that kind of stuff. Like I would never throw that away. Like even if I go to another university, like that's something that you would kind of keep forever as a memento. And we're seeing that, obviously the ROI is so big when it comes to college sports. And as you mentioned, tuition is incredibly high. So they bring somebody in and yeah, that's going to be 30, 60, 100 grand investment. So yeah, we're definitely also on the embellishment side, really seeing a big push in the university system.
Yeah, it's
So
big, and I
John,
think that's where it's going.
yeah, I think, but honestly, I'm going to be honest, like people are just not understanding how to utilize embellishments with variable data. It's unfortunately like the least leveraged, I think, aspect of digital embellishments is that. So the universities get it, but I would say most people don't use that. And it's too bad because I think it's the coolest part about being digital is being able to do that stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So John, you guys do a lot of packaging too, no?
Yep, lots of packaging, all that custom cutting and design. We have our own special CAD services team that can, help you if you have a specific box design or a specific product that you're trying to build a box around. We've got the whole CAD team there that can help you develop it. A lot of times that's very technical. You can definitely get an idea from your agency or from your designer, but we have the capability to go in and we understand how things crease and fold and all that stuff. So our team can go in and really customize it to your needs and do prototypes and samples to make sure everything works good before you go into full run production.
Let me ask you a question. Are you seeing what's called influencer boxes? Is that a thing that you're starting to see or not really?
I hear about it. We have a product called Brand Box that is kind of came up with the idea that, look, here's a box. This kind of came out of COVID and stuff too, where here's a box. You can put 3 items in it. No matter what you pick, this is the price. So we kind of had set up where, mugs, caps, all kinds of different things. So we have different levels. And the cool thing is it makes it really simple for a buyer to just go and say, hey, I want brand box A, which includes this, and then it gets branded. Brand box B might have some more things in it. So that's really a cool thing. And I think it just simplifies the process because when you start talking about building a kit or a swag bag or, whatever, there's so many options out there. This really helps. I think it makes it an easier sell too, to where a client's not overwhelmed thinking, oh, do I put a tumbler? And oh, if I put a tumbler, do I put a mouse? Or, so we've kind of simplified that to say, look, here's some great choices. People love them. And, as I always say, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, so to speak. Just
I
make it
love it.
easy on the client.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these things called influencer boxes starting to pop up, especially with embellishments. Where let's say you're a company, any company, let's say you're, I don't know, Apple or Coca-Cola or even a small company, you make maybe 100 or 150 of these high-end looking boxes with your product in it. And then you're shipping these products to influencers who will then open the product in front of a camera, do an unboxing and talk about the product that they got and they get paid for it. And that's like a whole economy at this point. Is the influencer box, which I thought was really interesting. Just goes to show, print isn't dead. It just keeps reinventing itself into new different ways.
Yeah, that's the cool part. I think that's the interesting thing about it. That can be personalized too, and that's what I think that's the part that people just miss is, personalization doesn't cost a fortune like maybe it did
Right.
way back. I'm not saying it's a commodity because not everybody's doing it, but the price to do it and the technology has changed so much that it's something available to everybody. It's even smaller business. It doesn't have to be the Coca-Colas of the world that are taking advantage of those things. So pretty much any company can do it if they want to develop it. And like you say, the data is an important part about being able to do it in multiple ways and reach the right people and segment your market.
Well, we're seeing that too since COVID. Like a lot of people quit their jobs during COVID and decided to open up their own company, and a lot of them are manufacturing. It could be honey, it could be soaps, it could be craft beer, it could be all these different things where they want a luxurious looking package or they want a luxurious looking label, but they don't have like the money to get foil stamping dyes made or screen press. So what we're seeing now is like this new, I don't know what the word is. I'm calling it like the whole Etsy packaging economy, like with the stuff that you can buy on Etsy and the stuff that you sell on Instagram and that you can sell on Shopify and these different mini micro markets. And I think what a lot of people are seeing is a growth in this digital packaging where you don't need 10 million boxes, you need 1,000 or 100, and kind of just build as you go. I'm sure you're probably seeing some of that too. No?
Oh yeah, definitely have. And I think that's the part that is interesting is, as you mentioned, a smaller brand could do a very custom box, especially if they're trying to set themselves apart as a high end, with digital embellishment and just with die cut in general, that you can now make something look fantastic, and it's not going to be an outrageous price either these days. And I think that's where the technology is finally starting to
Yeah.
merge with affordability for most people. That I think that's the printer's challenge these days too. Is we have become such a, I call it a craft economy or a niche economy,
Yeah.
where so many people are doing what you talked about. Even if you don't quit your job full time, on the weekends you're refinishing furniture or you're, making something for Etsy. And so, what's happened is there's a need and a market for that, but so many printers don't know how to handle a small order. And I think that's a challenge that, a lot of businesses face in print is, how do we make money on, 100 100-piece orders as opposed to one big run. So I think a lot of people are still figuring that out, and the ones that do, I think, will find a way to. There's infinite possibilities there, because instead of everybody calling on the same Coca-Colas and Apples, there's so many more companies you can call on, and some of those are growing fast, and they might only be 100 pieces today, but as their brand takes off and social media and TikTok get them skyrocketed and go viral, all of a sudden they're needing 5,000 boxes. So that's something to consider when you're selling is you don't want to go after a lot of small, but you also want to look for those growth opportunities, and
I
sometimes they're
love
hard to
it.
find, and I think they're in that craft area. So we got to find a way to get those through efficiently and economically for both the printer and the end user.
So I love what you're saying, especially when we talk about the micro runs. What we're seeing is two things. Number one, the first thing that comes to mind is, I don't know if you followed this company called Liquid Death. Have you seen what
Oh
they've
yeah,
done or
the
no?
water company. I haven't seen what they've done, but I know about the product for sure.
They started with just absolutely. They just went for the most offensive looking design possible, and they really put a lot of embellishment on this can. And it was basically just water in a can. And they went from a couple, like you said, a couple hundred boxes to now they're a major, and I think they just got bought out for, I forgot, maybe like a couple $100 million. Is a huge company now, but absolutely looking at those growth opportunities. But a lot of other big companies are going the other way, and that's kind of what's really interesting. So we have once a month we have this thing called the Digital Embellishment Designer Meetup, and we had one last month where we had a designer coming back from a show that was the brewery show, like their distillery show, where all these distillers were there and launching, and a lot of them were small brands, but a lot of them are these big mega brands like Diageo and Budweiser, who have these little micro brands that they've created where they make it seem as though it's a craft beer. They market it as a craft beer. There's a very limited amount of run, and you can only buy them in certain parts of the country to give them that, I know, that certain level of, but it's really being run on a massive scale, but just at a micro level everywhere, which I thought was super interesting. And in the future of
I
marketing,
mean,
I think is,
yeah, it's not just customization of the print. I mean, you talk about customizing. You mentioned alcohol, and now there's a peach and a whipped cream. There's a flavored, every flavor something. So that's that's tailoring to that targeted small market. So, but it is on a big scale too. And I think that's where it's interesting that so much of the internet economy is about personalization and about
Mm,
what works for you and what you want. And that's good if people get what they want. But as a salesman, I want to find the ones that a lot of people want too. So
that's right. That's right. That's right. I think that's a good point. But I did think it was funny that these big, massive brands are going for little micro runs and spinning off these tiny little brands on purpose to come across as more authentic. And I think we talk about social media a lot. We see how the market kind of reacts. Today, really, the real currency is authenticity, right? That's kind of what people are. We talked about it yesterday. When you're putting out content, if it feels forced or feels like you're faking it, people, they're going to read that. They're going to see that immediately. It's like, oh, this guy's just. But if you're actually out there creating that link, and I think you look at some of these major players in the alcohol market, by creating these tiny little companies, people feel like they can relate to these beers that they're buying. And anyways, it's a really interesting psychological experiment they're running on the craft side of liquor and breweries and distillery.
yeah, it's very interesting. It's crazy how much personalization is every part of every day.
Yeah, very cool. Well, listen, John, it's been a lot of fun talking. 21 minutes already gone by, which is zoomed by. John, real quick, you are out there providing a really great service for people who want to get things printed. If somebody wants to get a hold of you to get something printed, what's, in your opinion, what's the best way to get a hold of you, particularly if they want something?
I mean, you can absolutely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I accept a lot of connections on there and answer all my emails and things like that. But if you want to reach out to me directly, you can also email me. It's just john.carlin@lahlouh.com. That's LAHLOUH.com.
Very cool, John. Well, listen, wishing you a lot of success out there. And hopefully we can have you back on to tell us some of the more new, exciting trends that you're starting to see as you're talking to all these wonderful brands around the United States.
Hey,
John,
be happy
thank
to
you
come
again.
back. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, John. Thanks again, and I guess we'll talk very soon.
All right. Bye bye.